This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about a study from the Allianz Center for the Future of Retirement that found something striking. 64% of Americans are more worried about running out of money in retirement than they are of death. I could see that. It would really suck to run out of money in retirement. Nobody wants that. Death is like, I don't want that, but I could handle it. I guess I won't be around to see how bad it is. But when you run out of money, you got to live through that and come out the other side. And that just doesn't sound fun. So far this week, I've talked about how you can address the very common fear of running out of money. There are a number of strategies to use, but their effectiveness really depends on how close you are to retirement. So if you were my age, if you were 40 or, 10, 20 years out from retirement, I would say save more. Just do that. Figure out how to cut your expenses, prioritize your long-term savings. That's going to have the biggest impact. The further out you are from retirement, the more of an impact it's going to have. If you are 5 years out, saving more is not going to move the needle. Of course, every dollar that you save makes a difference, but it's just not going to make as big of a difference. So at this stage, you really just want to consider working a little bit longer. That can solve a lot of these problems. A couple extra years of work really does have a surprisingly big impact on ensuring that you don't run out of money in retirement. But what we haven't yet addressed is, what do you do if you are already retired? So a lot of the options available are now off the table. It's just too late. Are you going to go back to work? I don't think so. Many baby boomers in this survey of Americans who are more worried about retirement, running out of money than they are of death, a lot of them are all over 60 years old now. All the baby boomers are over 60. Many of them are retired and they're in this exact situation. And they're still quite worried, rightly so, about running out of money. But it's not too late altogether. It might be too late to save more. It might be too late to delay retirement if they're already retired. At this point, the one arrow left in the quiver is maintaining a safe withdrawal rate. That's the real key across the board. If you can make that transition into retirement and maintain a safe withdrawal rate, you're just not going to run out of money. Now, of course, life happens and you may be forced to jack up that withdrawal rate. Maybe you have long-term care expenses. Maybe you or a spouse needs to move into memory care, or you need expensive healthcare. That would significantly alter your safe withdrawal rate. But looking at this in a vacuum, if you can maintain a safe withdrawal rate, you're just not going to run out of money. It's as simple as that. So if you're a DIY investor, or even if you're working with a financial advisor, it is really important to understand what a safe withdrawal rate looks like, because the difference between one retiree making it financially and another one running out of money, even if they both start with similar financial picture at the beginning of retirement, it really just comes down to that withdrawal rate. Now you could say, well, one had better returns and one didn't. Fine. But the withdrawal rate is the most important thing that matters, because if you look at a wide variety of retirement portfolios, from very conservative to very aggressive, that does definitely have an impact on your ability to have your money outlast you. But it is really the safe withdrawal rate that has the biggest impact more than anything else. So what does that look like? Well, the conventional wisdom for a long, long time now has been the 4% rule, meaning you can safely withdraw about 4% of your portfolio in the first year of retirement. Now, that research and that safe withdrawal rate, it moves around a little bit. I've seen it as low as 3.7, 3.8, somewhere in that range. I just saw a new study, actually a headline just the other day, that said the new safe withdrawal rate is 4.7%. Just a couple of years ago, it was 3.7%. So what happened? That's a huge difference. But let's just stick with 4% for simplicity's sake, because it's in the ballpark of what the conventional wisdom has been and what an actual safe withdrawal rate has been for decades. So here's how it works. In your first year of retirement, you can take out 4% of your portfolio safely. So let's say you saved $1 million in your retirement portfolio. That's $40,000 you can withdraw in year one in retirement. Then every year after that, you increase that original dollar amount by inflation. So if inflation is 3% in year one, now you're $40,000, you get to withdraw 4%, but then you get to add on a little inflation component to it, and so on. And you do that every year. And that's the classic rule. Personally, I use 4% as a cap. So each year you can calculate your current portfolio value and then multiply that by 4%. And as long as you stay in that ballpark, you're in pretty good shape. Now, that's just simpler. I just use that method because who wants to sit there and attach a inflation component to last year's withdrawal rate and recalculate? No, it's just like if you use 4% of the new value every year, you're going to maintain in that safe zone. And it just naturally adjusts a little bit if your portfolio grows. I like it too because it encourages you to take out less if your portfolio shrinks. So you're not increasing that percentage rate withdrawal if your portfolio has lost value. Now, this can create some variation in your withdrawal rate, but generally for most years, you're going to get a little bump every year. And that's a pretty good thing. We want to look at not just every single year and sticking to that with like a religion, but if you are withdrawing more in a particular year, as long as that averages out to about 4%, over like a 5 or 10-year period, that's what we're shooting for. If you stay in that 4% range on average, you're going to be much less likely to deplete your assets. If you consistently take out more than that, though, then you really run the risk of shrinking your nest egg too quickly. And then when you have an inevitable drop in your portfolio value, the next recession, a market downturn, that higher withdrawal rate combined with a lower portfolio value really kind of accelerates that snowball moving down the hill, and that's disaster waiting at the bottom. So even if you don't run out of money entirely, if you overspend, go too much above that 4% rule cap, especially if you do that often and early in retirement, like you don't just do it once every few years, but you're like consistently year after year after year, then what's inevitably going to happen, unless you make like amazing stellar returns year in and year out, that's keeping you above that line and you're not seeing your portfolio go down in value. That's really what we want to avoid. We want to maintain or grow the portfolio value because then that 4% withdrawal, if you're adjusting that every year, that's going to allow you, if you have a little bit of growth in your portfolio every year because you only took out 4% and your portfolio grew on average a little bit more than that, then that allows you to take out enough every year to keep up with inflation, maintain your lifestyle without starting to deplete your assets. And that's really what we want to avoid. We don't want to have to slash your lifestyle in your 70s or 80s just to make sure that your money lasts. We want to understand and stick to a safe withdrawal rate. It is so powerful. It's the single best tool that if you are already retired, that's what you have to fight the fear and the real risk of running out of money. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.